What's up, guys? This is Tom Burkhardt from Car Revs Daily in the 2016 Infiniti QX60. So this is a 3.5 liter V6 with all-wheel drive, and a pretty good luxury family crossover. We got 7 seats here, of course, and a competitive set that includes everything from like the Dodge Durango and some loaded Ford Explorer Sports, all the way up to like the Audi Q7. I mean, truly, this QX60 really bridges a lot of gaps. With 7 really usable seats and flexible cargo area, but like nifty and nimble in-town handling. So the big thing with this car-based crossover, of course, is going to be how easy it is to drive versus like a big truck-based SUV. And it certainly is. Very light steering, incredibly good parking systems. So you have like the around view monitor, and then cameras, as well as like sonar sensors front and back, and some other good stuff. Just like incredibly easy to park even without that stuff, that a lot of which is optional, by the way. But really just generally like a good little SUV. So, or not little, a good nearly full-size SUV. So launch start there shows off the updates to the Nissan and Infiniti's Xtronic CVT system. So this is like the CVT with simulated upshifts at the red line, which is nice. It helps create like a more natural drive experience than otherwise is possible with CVTs, which, as we know, just sort of like to rev up to their max power peak, and then they sort of wind out the miles per hour while staying at that rev point. So it can be like a little unusual for drivers at first, but there are big benefits to it. Like it makes the drive really chill when you're not like hard on the throttle, and it also just generally makes the vehicles like really efficient and pretty lightweight. So that's all good. We've got all-wheel drive in this QX60. So that is like a partial system that is mostly front drive and then sends torque to the back wheels when it detects slippage. So pretty normal for the segment, and definitely as capable as vehicles like the Toyota Highlander or the Lexus RX 350. The big difference between the QX60, of course, and the Lexus RX, which is like arguably like its closest rival, is that the QX60 has a third row seat. So that's going to be something that's like a must-have for many buyers, and for good reason. You know, it's not just people with a lot of kids. It's, you know, even with like 1 or 2 kids, you still want that third row, just to give you flexibility with carpools, all that stuff. I mean, you don't need justification for a third row. It also, you know, really extends the capability of the vehicle pretty dramatically versus cars like the 2-row X5 and the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and that you just have a lot more cabin room, period. A lot more flexibility in the second row, which splits and folds, of course, but then also like tilts and slides to get, to get people into that third row. So very good stuff there, and generally is just pretty easy and calm in terms of like loading up the kids. The floor is low, the access points are really easy, the doors are huge, and turning radius, as we're demonstrating right now, very tight, and generally just like an SUV that thinks it's a car. You know, this really is a car for all intents and purposes. It has really smooth on-road handling, pretty limited off-road capability, but other car-like benefits, including like the efficiency and that like nimbleness and easy to park nature that we touched on earlier. So let's talk about how the car looks. So inside we've got like some really nice like silver piped leather here, nice accented maple wood around with sort of this satiny silver sheen. Nice giant nav screen, good mid-cluster displays here with some pretty good levels of information that are missing on some Infinitis, and you know, when they're missing, we really do miss those things. It's weird to get in a car that doesn't have like a really informative mid-cluster display lately. So glad to see it. There's are little upshifts. So the QX60 does a respectable job at mimicking a regular automatic transmission in how it drives, like about 90% of the time. I think most buyers won't really mind the CVT, and they'll come to love the fact that it's like so chill on throttle, and really, I mean, when you're just like on constant throttle. There are some points like in acceleration, which demos like this are really going to bring out, is that there is like a little bit of drone from the engine, and the engine itself seems like pretty noisy versus the premium segment. It's pretty vocal. I mean, there's really not much other way to say it. So it is vocal, and then when it gets in that big rev point, there is like some weird resonance or something. It kind of makes my ears pop sometimes. It's pretty noisy, but I don't think most buyers will be driving it, you know, with their foot on the floor. This is going to be, you know, like a town shuttle for the kiddies and the fam. But when you are driving it like this, it's definitely pretty noticeable. Like my ears just popped right there again. Like so that's something that is an unexpected demerit for the CVT, which is that with a regular automatic transmission, that there wouldn't be such a constant level of drone when you are on throttle. But as it stands, I think it's an acceptable compromise for the benefits that the CVT does bring, as discussed. So other cool things about the QX60, especially versus its Nissan Pathfinder platform mate and sibling, is that we have drive modes in this car. So we have like a normal with really light steering, and then we can go to sport, and it firms up a little bit. And then it gives you a little bit more throttle response, and I think that's it. But so the steering does firm up, but you've got like a weird eagerness to return to center that is like a little unusual. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're on like constant radius turns, like we might be up here in just a moment, you'll definitely notice like the car doesn't really like to go around those turns. It wants to return to the straight ahead like pretty aggressively. Like it's not doing that with like its electronics, or it does have lane departure warning and active cruise, but it really just wants to return to center. So if you're like trying to drive, it's kind of like you're like, you gotta really like encourage it around the corner a little bit. But not a big deal. Still super light steering and respectable pace. This 3.5 liter V6 makes 265 horsepower, and 248 foot-pounds of torque. So we have decent performance. We're a little bit behind the in like sheer sprint pace behind the Lexus and the MDX Acura, as well as like all of its German rivals in terms of like sheer speed. I would estimate like an 8.2, maybe 8.5 second sprint to 60 miles an hour. Definitely respectable for what this car's mission is, which is like, you know, hauling kiddies and you know, being the family truckster. In that regard, it does do really well. We've got a bunch of option packages on this particular QX60. That really mostly dress up the interior. The exterior of the QX60 with this all-wheel drive, it bases from $45,000. It looks amazing. You've got really nice LEDs front and rear. An LED sort of like accent underneath the bi-xenon projector ball, as well as an LED line sort of in that top part of the headlight. That is like, that combined creates like a really classy visual signature, and complements the LED fog lights really nicely. Big 20-inch wheels that are part of one of the option packages are nice. They're an upgrade from the 18s, and they really help the style as well as the grip of the machine. Do a little launch here. We got nobody behind us. Upshifts. It shifts, but there's a sort of a little yawning time there where you're like feel like you're in one gear for a long time, and that's when like the resonance thing can materialize. Otherwise, the car is like respectably quiet. It's not like one of the most quiet, not the quietest car in its class by any stretch of the imagination, but overall is pretty quiet, except for when you are on that throttle. So 20-inch wheels outside, which is really nice, and then also like pretty chic and new LEDs for the taillights. So it's overall like a really classy visual proposition, and looks newer than you would think. It really does look pretty fresh, so that's all good. And that stuff is like pretty, except for the wheels, it's pretty much standard from that like 43, 45K base, whether you're doing front drive or all-wheel drive. The option packages we have really like snazz up the cabin more than anything. So we've got like a deluxe technology package, and that is like almost $7,000. That includes like the active cruise, front and rear sonar, the I can't really read this off, but blind spot warning, power third row seats, lane departure warning, the Bose audio, and the wheels, forward collision alert, rear collision intervention. I mean, lots of stuff. But the option package is like pretty pricey. I mean, anything it's like $7,000 is very, very expensive. And then we have the theater package, $2,000, which is like double screens in the headrest, which is pretty nice with really good media integration for like HDMI or S-video or whatever movie source you would want to do. We've got premium package with the 8-inch touchscreen display with navigation. So that's $3,000. I'm kind of surprised it's not standard, but so we had Premium Plus with the nav and nav traffic and rain sensing wipers, illuminated sill plates. Premium package is seat memory, lumbar support for the driver's seat, remote engine start, and roof rails, and a bumper protector. So, I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's like, that they bundle into these option packages, which is, I mean, this is all nice equipment to have, but the end result is that the price is like creeping up, like it creeps up pretty dramatically from that 45K. Out the door, as equipped with those 20-inch wheels and the 4 option packages, we're at just under $59,000 out the door. Which in isolation is like, seems like quite a bit, but you got to realize, I mean, you can spend $53,000 on a Toyota Highlander, you can spend $59,000 plus on a Ford Explorer, and certainly get very, very close to that with any Grand Cherokee. So you've got to keep in mind that these vehicles are deeply expensive, and then if you bump up a competitive set like to the Q7, which stickers from I think like 70s, maybe mid 60s. I mean, it's like pretty stripped down. You really need like then an extra 15 or 20 grand worth of equipment to get to this level of specification. So the Infiniti like sort of undercuts some of those rivals. Definitely undercuts like an X5 with a third row seat by at least 5 or 10 grand. And there really are very few of those around, and the third row seat is miserable. Whereas like this car has like a pretty good third row, a very low floor all the way throughout that back cabin, and pretty easy access back there. So overall, I think it's a pretty good car. I think it's a really nice town car, and certainly looks classy and is comfortable for all its occupants. Does it drive like really, really in a cutting edge type of state of the art way? No, I mean, not really. I mean, this drivetrain is okay in some of its most humble applications, like the NV200 cargo van we drove the other week with the CVT paired with a gasoline transmission in the front, or gasoline engine. But as you get to this premium price point, it becomes really hard to sort of like make amends with some of the CVT's limitations. Biggest gripes about the car are definitely sheer pace, the CVT manners, the drive position is like not awesome, the steering is same boat, and it's kind of noisy. But besides that, I mean, you've got to weigh all the benefits of that huge cargo area, all the active safety tech you could ever want, and overall just a really luxurious and classy appearance outside. Overall, a pretty good car. QX60 from Infiniti is available now, and you should go check it out. Give it a drive, because some people will really, really like this sort of like effortless cruise that you've got going with this powertrain. Whereas like some of those other cars are going to make you work harder for just to keep up with traffic. Whereas QX60, I mean, you saw it with just a little blip, and then we're back to like, it's basically just idling. We're humming down the road. All right, we'll see you guys next time. This is Tom Burkhardt from Car-Revs Daily.